Hi, I'm Kara.
And I'm Adam. Welcome to Crunchy Cozy Games. Today we are talking about cozy games.
Cozy games. So a lot of times when people think about cozy games, I feel like the cozy gamer and cozy gaming really a lot of times refers to video games, right? You think of things like Animal Crossing, I think is like
Sure.
and Stardew Valley, like those.
Oh yeah, Stardew Valley is
like,
a great example.
Those quintessential like cozy gamer.
Well, I think
things.
with the rise of indie games, the independent games, there's been a lot more craze for kind of the cozy games.
Absolutely.
Something that you can just kind of like mellow out and
Yeah.
just play for a while without any like shooting or killing or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there are a lot of board games that fit that.
Yeah, for sure.
That fit that kind of category as well. And so, cozy gaming doesn't just apply to like the electronic gamers of the world. It also applies to board gamers.
Yeah.
And so we have a good number of games in our collection, and a lot of them are rank pretty high on our cozy scale. Like they have pretty high cozy ratings. But today I want to talk about what I would consider my top 10 cozy games.
Cool.
You ready?
Yeah. So I guess my question always is, when you think about a cozy board game.
Sure.
I think
yeah.
there's a lot of different ways that you could go with it. I think sometimes people think it's the opposite of crunchy, where it's like, oh, it's got to be a simple game.
Right. And that's not the case at all.
Right. Sometimes I find that a cozy game might be something that is generally pretty complex.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it's one where I have a pretty good idea of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the choices that you might be making are things that are more binary. Like, what's going to happen when you do something.
Absolutely. I also think that something that kind of defines cozy to me is that there's not, if there's competition, it's like mild competition.
Okay. Yeah.
Like there aren't really any like war type games that I would classify as cozy.
Well, and like social deduction games typically aren't going to be very cozy because you got to lie to people.
Right. So
that makes sense.
I think that there are some mechanisms that lean more towards cozy. I think things like worker placement and tableau building tend to be on the cozier side. That is not like exclusive, obviously, but just tendencies. Yeah. What else would you think about, like, what defines a cozy game?
I definitely think there's a lot to themes. We were talking about space games earlier, and there's not really a lot of cozy space games.
That's true.
I mean, if there is, I would love to know them, so leave that below in the comments, because we want to try it. But I think generally when people are making a board game, if they're making something that's not going to be highly competitive and... like you said, it's going to be one that the turn-by-turn gameplay is something that's kind of relaxing. They're going to look for a theme that's more cozy.
Exactly. Your theme is kind of your indicator of what the gameplay is going to be like, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Really, what all of this means is that this whole list is based on vibes.
Yeah. Total vibes.
And they're the vibes that I get from the games. Yeah. And so you might completely disagree with me, and I would love to hear that and talk about it with you. So,
well, and I think that in true list fashion, we might do a list of 10 games right now that are like, oh, these are our coziest games, and then next year we're going to put together maybe a new top 10 because that's just how it goes.
It is. I mean, who knows what we get new this year, or something new to us, who knows. All right, you ready for number 10?
Let's do it.
Number 10 in my coziest games list is Santorini.
Okay, so this is a great example because this is a head-to-head game.
It is. Yeah, this is direct competition. However, I think that this game is more like checkers style competition.
Sure.
Right? So in this game, you are kind of building like a Greek city. You're building with these really nice, like tactile tower, like building pieces.
Right.
And there is a lot of direct blocking, like you are trying to get to the top level of your building. And the way that somebody stops you from doing that is either like getting in front of you or capping the building with the little like blue roof, which, it is direct competition. However, this game is so quick.
Well, and what's really cool about this game is that every move your opponent makes, you can literally see coming.
It's true.
And so you can, I mean, really what you're trying to do in this game is avoid getting yourself trapped into a place that you won't be able to block them.
Exactly. It really is. It's kind of like that game where you all put your hands in and you put your, like, you're just constantly like sticking your hands on top of the stack.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's kind of what this game is like. But, you know, when we pull this game out, we can play a game in 20 minutes and play another one. Like,
even.
It's so fast, it's so snappy, and it doesn't feel, even though it is competitive, it doesn't feel mean.
Right.
Because you're both just trying to solve the puzzle.
Well, I always say this is a great game to decide, like, whose turn it is to do the dishes. You can't agree, you play Santorini, whoever loses, they're doing the dishes.
Right.
Because it's never one that's so serious, like when you get beat at it, you're like, you got me.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a great choice. I love it.
Yeah. So number 10 in the cozy list
All
is
right.
Santorini. You ready for number 9?
Let's see it.
Number 9 is one that was pretty high on my top 100 list, and that is Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Yeah, for sure.
So this made this list because this game is always enjoyable. It is always a hoot. Again, it has that aspect of not really being like direct competition. Everyone is doing the same thing, but you're not the only, I guess the most direct competition you could have is if somebody buys the last chip of the color that you want.
Well, they do have the like black chips that are, if you pull more than your opponents do, then you score more points or something.
True. But yeah, there's not a lot of player interaction, and it's always fun. It can be as stressful as you want it. That like push your luck mechanic of, should I draw one more? Should I draw one more? Should I do it?
Well, and then you have the table typically that chimes in with that. They're like,
true.
okay, like think about your odds here because you've pulled this. You know it's still in your bag. You should try it.
Exactly. Everybody gets super invested in what that last person who's still drawing is doing, and it's always fun.
Yeah.
It's also really easy to teach. It's really easy to set up. It is quick to pick up. I think that there are a lot of things that really make it cozy. Also, I mean, just thinking about like an old-timey like snake oil salesman crafting up something, cooking up something in his pot. I mean, it's
very fun.
It's very silly. It's very fun. Yeah, I think it is super cozy.
The other thing I really like about this game is it has Mario Kart-esque rubber banding in it, where if you are behind on the scoreboard, they're separated by all these different rat tails.
Yes.
And so whoever is behind the lead person, you count how many rat tails there are, and then they get to start that many spaces.
It's true.
forward.
Well, and that way, every turn feels like it's kind of level.
Yeah.
You know, there's not that, like, that angst that you feel when you're so far behind.
Right.
Because you've busted every time or whatever has happened. I mean, it's a really cozy, fun game.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's see your number 8.
All right, number 8. This game is all about visiting places.
Oh, yeah.
And this is parks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is super cozy. I love the, like, collecting aspect of this.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of, I don't know if, would you quantify it as, like, racing on that player board? I don't know what you would say.
I wouldn't say it's racing. I mean, it's got what I like to call a ratchet mechanism where you can move as far forward as you want, but you can't go back.
Yeah. And I think that the interaction that you get with other players on that path can be really, can sometimes be a little frustrating. But they have things in place to help combat that. They have your campfire. You have 2 meeples that you're playing with.
Right.
And I think that the entire concept of the game is super charming. I mean, you're collecting resources to visit national parks and claim them or whatever it is that you're doing. Exactly. But you get these beautiful cards with beautiful art. You can take photos of places as well. And you collect these little chips that have like beautiful paintings, photos on them. And yeah, you're buying tools and things along the way to help you.
Right, like canteens or sunglasses.
Binoculars.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is one where I think the theme is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the coziness.
It definitely is. It definitely
I mean, if you can like look at some of the box art here, and that's the vibe of the game. I mean, they want you to look at it and feel serene and relaxed.
Yes.
And I think that translates really well to the overall gameplay.
Absolutely.
Even like you mentioned the campfire. So if you want to visit a space that another meeple is already on, you can put that on there at the cost of your campfire, and it's literally a little cardboard token that you have that you flip over and it extinguishes that campfire. It's just a very elegant system that I think is wonderfully themed. So I totally agree. This is a great cozy pick.
Yeah. All right. Number 7 coziness is photosynthesis.
Huh.
This is another one where I really think that the theme does a lot for coziness. I think the idea of growing a forest to maximize your sunlight and your ability to grow and thrive, I think is just really cozy. I also think that the coziness a little bit depends on how many players you have.
Yep.
You know, when we play it with 2 players, we are able to like not super interfere with each other, and it really becomes kind of a race for resources and placement. But doesn't feel mean. I think that can maybe change.
Yeah,
higher player counts.
I think the theme of this is absolutely wonderful, and I definitely think it is a cozy theme. I think the actual gameplay of it, though, is a little mean. Really? Because essentially what you are doing is you are trying to gather sunlight by placing your trees in the right spot. But if you have a taller tree in front of one of your opponent's trees, it's going to gather no sunlight. So you're basically depriving them of resources.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, the sun moves around the entire board, so
almost every location is good on some turns and not good on
and it's going to block on others. But depending on how you play it, you can make this a really not cozy game for other people.
Sure,
and I think that's where you're coming in with the different player counts. I actually think it's more mean at 2 players,
really,
because you can play more defensively, or offensively. You can play to just screw up your opponent if you choose to, and that's a totally valid strategy.
Okay. I think this might be one where we have to agree to disagree, because I still think that this
I defer to you. You're the cozy expert. I'm just saying, I think this is a wonderful game. It is great for up to 4 players. It's just one that if you have one of those bullies in the family or in your friend group, that you got to watch out for them, because they can get mean.
Sure. Well, vibes.
Yeah.
Cozy.
Hang out with better people vibes.
All right. Number 5. Number 5 is Cascadia.
Cascadia.
Another nature-y themed game. There's,
sure.
You know, I feel like nature themes are pretty cozy generally.
Well, again, I think when publishers are when game creators are creating their games, nature is serene, it's peaceful, and so if you're creating kind of a peaceful, low interaction game,
right,
it makes sense to give it a nature theme.
Speaking of low interaction games, Cascadia is definitely that.
Yeah.
You're each building your own little board. It's definitely a tile laying game, and the interaction comes a little bit by people taking their turns to get what's in the store. I think what makes this one extra cozy, though, is that you do have that ability to reset.
Yes.
There's an automatic reset built into the way that the store populates for the animals. And, I think as we talked about in one of our other lists, this game is just one where even if you're having a hard time deciding which direction you want to go, you never feel stuck.
Right.
Like you don't ever feel trapped into something or locked into a decision that you made previously. There's always a way to pivot, and you can score in so many different ways.
I totally agree. I think this is a wonderful cozy game because you're essentially playing multiplayer solitaire.
Sure.
Everybody's got their own board, and the most interaction you have is that somebody might take the piece or the chip that you want. And every time we've played, there's always somebody that's like, dang it, that's the one I wanted. But it's so easy, like you said, to pivot and change your strategy. It's a game just about kind of being loose. And that, I think, is the definition of cozy.
This is another one that is is pretty easy to bring to the table with people that either don't play a lot of complicated games or are fairly new to the hobby. I think it is pretty accessible. The theme is pretty like universally appealing as well. And it's one that is good for just like, an afternoon or like a chill evening. It's just a super cozy game. Cascadia.
I love it.
Yeah.
Next up, number 6.
Number 6. Are we counting down? I don't know. Anyways, Everdell.
Yeah, so number 5.
Number 5. Yeah.
I get it.
Lost our count. Anyways, Everdell. This is probably the crunchiest game on this cozy list.
Yeah, I think so.
And this one is like a combination of a lot, like there's a lot of worker placement options. It's worker placement and tableau building. And there's a lot going on in this game. It has a huge table presence, but a beautiful table presence. Sure. I mean the tree that you build to hold the cards and the meeples is so striking.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's a beautiful game, and all the cards are adorable. Hey, speaking of things that are cozy.
Cozy cats.
This is definitely one that has a lot of strategy into it because you've got cards that chain together. You've got limited resources, and then depending on where you put your worker meeples, that can block other players for it. So this is probably the one that has the most, like... strategy and messing with other players that is there.
Sure.
But it's still all kind of in the vein of coziness. And I'll tell you, I think the thing that makes it the most cozy is other players can have cards that you can then use your worker on to get resources. Yeah. Sometimes they get resources, sometimes they get points, but you're literally helping out other players.
I also think is the way that they have designed the rounds where not everybody has to be in the same season at the same time.
Right.
Means that, even if somebody is on the spot that you want one turn, if they move to the next season before you, that spot is going to open up.
Right.
So those kind of asynchronous rounds contribute to the coziness as well.
Agreed.
I also think that there are enough variety of objectives that, you don't have to be in direct competition for the same one all the time.
Right.
And the cards kind of that end up in the store or in the center, the meadow, is that what it is? That kind of determines, what objectives are going to be achievable, yes. Right? But there are so many cards that are available that there's going to be more than one thing that you can do and more than one path to victory.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the only part that I would say is maybe not so cozy is that last round where you want to put your worker on the points at the bottom. Oh,
yeah, sure.
That fills up really quick.
It does.
And sometimes you can feel like, I just wasn't ready and they beat me to all those points.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think this is an adorable game. And if you have been kind of a cozy gamer for a while, I'd say this is a gateway into Crunchy.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. I think this is one where the theme is incredibly cozy, but the gameplay is definitely fairly high on the crunch scale.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Love it. Okay. So you're right. If we're counting down, that was number 5. I was wrong. I apologize. So now we should be on number 4. Yeah.
All right. Here we go with number 4. Meadow.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Another super cozy theme. I think, like many of the games that I've talked about, this one, you're not like in super direct competition. You might block somebody out of getting a card from a row that they want, but it has really unique ways of getting cards. The tableaus that you're building are just so cute. The art is gorgeous, and it's another one that has kind of like a sitting around the campfire vibe.
Well, there's literally a campfire light.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the vibe is built into the game,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that this one, it also has that element of, you're able to like chain things. I really enjoy playing this game and seeing what I can collect. And again, I'm just excited to see what everybody else is collecting.
Sure.
Rather than being super worried about the score and who's winning. You know what I mean?
I really like this game because the way that you choose one of your cards is that you've got the rows and columns and you put one of your pointed tokens on that board. And so even if somebody takes a card that was in the row that you want, you still have the ability to take it in the column. You have to pivot maybe your strategy a little bit, but you're never locked out of the thing that you really, really want.
Right.
But yeah.
Or at least not frequently.
Right.
It takes a while for those cards to get locked.
I think it is just so cool, and it is just a peaceful time.
It is. Yeah.
Great choice.
Meta. Getting into the top 3.
All right.
So this one is fairly new to us, and is pretty darling. This one is Canvas.
Oh yeah.
I love the clear cards on this. The like overlay that you do. We talked about this one a couple of times where sometimes it can be a little frustrating because the coolest like painting is not the one that's necessarily going to score you the most points.
Right.
But I think that in the end, all of the paintings end up looking cool.
Yeah.
And so even if it's not what you had thought of to start, like you're going to end up with something crazy, something cool.
Well, that's kind of the beauty of art as a whole. And,
exactly.
Board games as art. I think that's kind of the enjoyment of it, is creating a system that is peaceful in this instance to play. And the moment-to-moment gameplay is not something that really stresses you out. And at the end, you get kind of this literal nice picture of something that you have made. And I just think that is really an interesting aspect.
This is another one where there's not a lot of direct competition, and the most competition you have is somebody taking the card that you wanted before you get to it.
Right, but they combat that feeling of like somebody knowing that that's the card you want and taking it, because you have a hand limit that is so small. I don't remember how much it is.
It's only like 3 cards.
Yeah, it's not a lot. So
maybe 5. I don't remember.
It's a small amount, and so you don't feel like you want to waste one of your pulls by taking a card from somebody.
Right.
So
that's
I
a good
like
point.
that a lot.
Yeah.
Again, great choice.
Yeah.
Great one.
All right, number 2. This one is kind of the definition of cozy as far as theme goes.
You are literally making cozy rooms.
It's true. Number 2 is Verdant.
Yes.
I've talked about this game before. I absolutely adore this game. I think that figuring out where to place your plants to perfectly catch the light, collecting different plants, being a quote-unquote plant lady, and
we're plant gentlemen.
Right, exactly. Making sure that your cozy chair is placed in exactly the right room.
Yeah.
And the cat has the perfect spot. There's lots of cozy accessories and decorations for your rooms. The plants, again, this is one where the art is super cool.
Yes.
The colors that they've chosen for the rooms are, I'm probably never going to paint a room neon orange or bright pink.
Bummer.
But it definitely is a striking...
There go my plans for the bathroom.
It's a striking color theme or color scheme that I think really works with all of the green. I think that it is a really interesting way that you set up your board, because you're building your own grid. Is it 3x5?
It is
3x5. But it's really flexible until you hit 3 tall or 5 across, and so you really
then you're locked in.
Exactly. You have a lot of choice in how you go about building it.
And this is another great one where they give you the option to refresh the market using green thumbs that you've acquired. And I just like that because you never totally feel stuck. I mean, obviously, if you run out of those resources, you're stuck with what's there, but you made your choices. That's on you.
Exactly.
This is an adorable game. It's really just quite simply, it's one where I think when it's snowing outside, it's one that we light a fire for, and it's just like, okay, let's just take a little break, enjoy the silence, and just play this game.
Yeah.
It's great.
One other thing that I would like to mention that I love about this game is kind of a component choice that was made, and I really appreciate the variety of skin tones in the thumbs.
Oh yeah, that is really nice. Again, just a good, cozy, inclusive choice. Love that.
Yeah. Anyways,
cool.
Number 2 is Verdant.
All right. That's
Last on the list.
To number 1.
And I bet if any of you have watched our videos, you might have a guess of what my pick for number 1 is going to be.
I mean, when we were talking about this channel and what it was going to be named, this was the game I think that came to mind as one that was like, oh yeah, that's kind of equal parts crunchy and cozy.
And that game is Flamecraft. I am a huge fan of Flamecraft. I think that the dragons are adorable. I think that the names are super clever.
Yes.
I think that the types are super well thought out. It is a very kind game. So even though, you are competing with other people for points, the game encourages sharing resources and giving things to other people and playing nice. I mean, it's a game that is just super pleasant to play.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just like you said about it being nice, with a lot of worker placement games, when you place a worker on a spot that somebody else wanted to go to, that's it. That spot is blocked until you move.
Right.
With this game, it very clearly says in the rule book that you can go to the same shop. You just have to give whoever's there a resource. And that's just such an elegant system for it, because it gives you incentive to maybe choose something different. But if you're dead set on visiting that location, you can still do it. And I think that's a brilliant way to do a game like this, because you never feel stuck. You never feel like the turn order is determining the outcome of the game.
Absolutely.
And then it's just so precious. I mean,
truly is.
They could have gone with just about anything for the dragon style, but this kind of soft watercolor-esque artwork to it, it's just so gorgeous, and it's so reminiscent of the style of gameplay that you're going to get.
Exactly. Yeah. It is one where the vibe of this box just totally reveals what you're going to be doing.
Oh yeah.
And it's so good. It is by far, I think, the coziest game in our collection. It is a 5 on the cozy scale.
And I think it's also one of those games that it's got sufficient crunch to it too. I mean, there is a way that you can plan and strategize and make optimal moves so that you can win the game.
And enchantments and...
Right.
Yeah.
But you're never thinking I'm going to do this and beat everybody. Instead, you're thinking I'm going to do this and score really well.
Yeah.
And it's one of those that as soon as the game starts, everybody's having a good time for, because it's competitive, but everybody's in kind of the same vein, that nobody breaks away from the pack and is 30 points ahead.
Yeah. I also think, everyone gets super invested in when somebody gets to reveal a new shop. And you get to see which one the next one is, what type it is, and which name it is, because you have a lot of shops available in your box, but not all of them are going to come into play, and you don't use every single one of them in each game. So it's really fun to see which ones you either picked as your pool or randomized into your pool. So definitely very fun. Yeah,
it's a great choice. No surprise to me that it's number 1, but I completely agree. It's a fantastic choice.
Yeah. So I hope that there are some people that agree with me on the crunchies or the cozies.
Yeah, I think so. I think these are a good selection of cozy games. Certainly not all the cozy games in our collection.
Oh, absolutely not.
But definitely a great assortment and a lot of variety in here, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What are your favorite cozy games? What's your favorite game to play next to a raging fire? Maybe that's dangerous. I don't know. Don't try that at home, kids.
And which ones do you think we're missing? I mean, we have a lot of games that are super cozy. I would also like to maybe give a couple of honorable mentions just for theme.
Sure.
Calico.
So mean.
Cats and quilts are just such a good theme.
Yeah, the theme of it is cozy. Unfortunately, the gameplay, the designers hate you and want you to die.
I also think that Hickory Dickory gets an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Just for it just like...
Just for the fat mouse.
It's so...
He's so cute.
He's so cute.
I love him and I want him to be my pet.
Right. And I mean, it has an innovative kind of worker mechanism as well. You know,
neat.
I think that one has maybe a higher level of honorable mention than Calico.
Hates you. Well, thanks so much for stopping by. We plan to talk about next our crunchiest games in our collection. So if you are more of a crunchy gamer, come back and see us. Mm-hmm. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel because you don't want to miss when we drop that list. Thanks for stopping by.
Bye.
Bye-bye.